Captain Jake Morrison walked slowly into the huge meeting room. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. Around him, hundreds of alien beings sat in their special chairs. Some looked like giant bugs. Others were made of living crystal that sparkled in the light. A few were just floating clouds of gas that glowed different colors. Jake had been to this place many times before. The Galactic Council Station was bigger than any city on Earth. It floated in space near a bright star called Centauri Prime. Today would be different from all his other visits. Today, he would say words that would change everything. The room became quiet as Jake reached the center platform. All the alien eyes, sensors, and other body parts turned to look at him. He could feel their attention like a heavy weight on his shoulders. Some of these beings were older than human civilization. They had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Jake looked up at the giant crystal being who led the council. Zekthara was taller than 3 humans standing on each other's shoulders. The crystal body caught the light and threw rainbows across the room. When Zekthara spoke, the voice sounded like music mixed with breaking glass. Human representative. Morrison, Zekthara said. You have come to give us your answer about our demands. Jake nodded once. He thought about Earth, floating in space so far away. He thought about his wife Sarah and his 2 kids back home. He thought about all the humans living on different planets and space stations across the galaxy. They were all counting on him now. 3 months ago, the Council had made their demands clear. Earth had to give up its new computer technology. Humans had to stop having so many babies. They had to follow the same rules as every other species in the galaxy. The Council said this was for peace and balance, but Jake knew better. The Council was afraid. They had watched humans for 50 years since first contact. They saw how fast humans learned and grew. They saw human creativity and determination. The Council wanted to control that power before it became too strong. The human delegation has discussed your demands carefully, Jake said. His voice was steady and clear. We have talked with our leaders on Earth and all our colonies. The alien beings leaned forward in their seats. Some made clicking sounds. Others changed colors. The gas cloud beings swirled faster. They all wanted to hear what humans would say. Jake took a deep breath. The human delegation respectfully declines all Council demands. The room exploded with noise. Aliens shouted in languages that sounded like music, machinery, and animal calls. Lights flashed. Strange smells filled the air. Some beings stood up so fast their chairs fell over. Others started arguing with each other in clicks and whistles. Zekthara's crystal body turned dark red. Species 847, designation human, you do not understand what you are doing. The consequences of refusing the Council will be severe. Jake had expected this reaction. He had practiced these words for weeks. Humans understand perfectly. We choose freedom over safety. We choose growth over stagnation. We choose to find our own path among the stars. On Earth, President Lisa Hamilton sat in her office deep underground. The room had thick walls and no windows. Computer screens showed her everything happening on the Council station. She watched Jake deliver humanity's message and felt proud of the brave Captain Dot next to her. General Paul Bradley checked his watch. Operation Exodus begins in 10 minutes, Madam President. Lisa nodded. She had known this day would come ever since humans first met the aliens. The Council seemed nice at first. They welcomed Earth into their organization. They shared some technology and helped humans build colonies on other worlds. But slowly, the truth became clear. The Council did not want partners. They wanted servants. Dr. Foster, are all our people ready? Lisa asked. Dr. Amy Foster looked up from her computer. She had helped plan Operation Exodus for 20 years. Every human colony has received the coded message. All transport ships are powered up and waiting. The generation ships in the outer solar system are ready to move. Lisa felt a mix of sadness and excitement. Humans would have to leave everything they had built, but they would be free to build something better. Back on the council station, Jake continued speaking despite the chaos around him. Humans thanked the council for 50 years of membership. We have learned much from the other species, but we have also learned that we cannot grow while wearing chains, even golden ones. A new alien voice spoke up. This one looked like a giant spider with too many eyes. Human Morrison, your species will not survive alone. No single species has ever left the council and prospered. You will face pirates, disasters, and cosmic threats. You need our protection. Jake smiled for the first time since entering the room. Humans have survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We explored dangerous oceans and climbed the highest mountains. We learned to fly and traveled to other planets. We will find a way to survive among the stars too. The spider being's eyes blinked in different colors. Your arrogance will destroy you. Maybe, Jake said, but it will be our choice to make. On Mars, Colony Administrator Rick Carter watched the news feeds from Earth. The red planet's 3 million human residents were already packing their belongings. Giant transport ships landed every hour to take people away. Some humans cried as they left their homes. Others laughed with excitement about the adventure ahead. Rick had lived on Mars for 30 years. He had helped build the domed cities and underground farms. Leaving felt like abandoning his children. But he also knew that staying meant slow death under council control. All civilians loaded on Transport Group 7, his assistant reported. Ready for departure. Rick took one last look at the city he had built. Then he walked toward the waiting ship. Freedom was worth any sacrifice. Dr. Kate Phillips gathered her research files on the science station orbiting Jupiter. She had studied alien biology for 20 years. Her work had helped humans understand dozens of species. Now all that knowledge would help humanity survive on their own. Some of her alien friends had tried to convince her to stay. They promised the council would be gentle with humans who remained loyal. Kate knew they meant well, but she also knew the truth. The council's gentleness was just another kind of prison. Admiral Tom Richards commanded the Earth Defense Fleet from his flagship in orbit. His ships had been built to protect Earth from asteroids and space debris, but they carried hidden weapons and shields that the council knew nothing about. Today, those secrets would finally be revealed. All ships report ready, Admiral, his communications officer announced. Tom looked at Earth spinning slowly below them. The blue and white planet looked so peaceful from space. Soon it would be empty of human life, at least on the surface. But deep underground, volunteers would stay behind to watch and wait. Begin the withdrawal, Tom ordered. Take us to the rendezvous point. Back on the council station, Jake prepared to leave. He had delivered humanity's message. Now the real work would begin. The council would try to stop them. There would be economic sanctions, travel restrictions, and military threats. But humans had planned for all of this. This meeting is over, Jake announced. Humanity wishes all council species peace and prosperity. We hope that someday we can meet again as equals instead of subjects. Zekthara's crystal body flashed bright. White, you will regret this decision, Human Morrison. The galaxy is vast and dangerous. You cannot hide from us forever. Jake walked toward the exit. At the doorway, he turned back one more time. We are not hiding, Council Prime. We are growing. When you see us again, you will understand what humans can become when they are truly free. The door closed behind him with a soft hiss. Jake Morrison walked toward his ship, carrying the hopes and fears of his entire species. Behind him, the council began planning their response. Ahead of him, the greatest adventure in human history was about to begin. Commander Steve Walsh stood on the bridge of the massive ship New Horizon. Through the huge windows, he could see 17 other ships just like his. Each one was bigger than any building on Earth. They moved through space like floating cities, carrying millions of humans away from everything they had ever known. 3 months had passed since Captain Morrison delivered humanity's message to the Council. 3 months of careful planning and secret movements. Now the real exodus was beginning, and Steve felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "Navigation report," Steve called out. Lieutenant Kelly Brown looked up from her control panel. Her face was pale with worry. "Council patrol ships detected on long-range sensors, sir. 3 heavy cruisers maintaining distance, but definitely following us." Steve smiled grimly. He had expected this. The Council would not let humans disappear without trying to track them. They wanted to know where humanity was going and what they were planning to do. "Let them watch," Steve said. "They are about to learn something new about human engineering." The New Horizon carried the entire population of the Tau City research colony. 2 million people lived in the ship's rotating sections. They had homes, schools, parks, and everything needed for a long journey. The ship was not just transport. It was a complete world moving through space. Steve walked to the engineering section where Dr. Ryan Murphy waited beside a control panel that glowed with strange blue light. Ryan had worked on this technology for 15 years in secret. The Council had said it was impossible. Human scientists had proved them wrong. "Skip drive ready, Commander," Ryan reported. "All ships in the fleet show green status." The skip drive was humanity's greatest secret. While Council ships used hyperspace tunnels to travel fast, human ships could do something much better. They could step outside normal space and time completely. For a few seconds, they would not exist in the regular universe. Then they would appear somewhere else, millions of miles away. "Council ships are still following us," Kelly reported from the bridge. "They seem confident in their ability to track us." Steve activated the fleet communication system. His voice reached all 18 ships at once. "All vessels, prepare for skip jump. Destination coordinates locked in. Jump in 10 seconds." The countdown began. Steve felt the familiar tingling sensation as the skip drive charged up. Around him, the ship's lights dimmed as enormous amounts of energy flowed into the drive system. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jump. Reality twisted around the New Horizon. For a moment that felt like forever, Steve existed in a place that was not a place. Colors had no names. Directions meant nothing. Sound became light, and light became music. Then, with a soft pop, normal space returned. "Jump complete," Ryan announced. "All ships have successfully translated to the new position." Kelly checked her sensors and gasped. "Sir, we have traveled 8 million miles in less than 3 seconds. The Council patrol ships are completely gone from our sensors." Behind them, the 3 Council cruisers searched empty space in confusion. Their sensors showed nothing. The human fleet had simply vanished without any trace of hyperspace usage. The Council ships sent emergency messages back to their headquarters, reporting technology they had never seen before. On the Council command station, Military Coordinator Veltani studied the reports with growing alarm. She was a tall, thin being, with 4 arms and silver skin. Her species had served as the Council's military advisors for 3,000 years. "The humans have disappeared completely," she reported to the emergency session. "Our ships detected no hyperspace signature, no energy trail, nothing. They simply stopped existing and then reappeared somewhere else." Intelligence Supervisor Mordix, who looked like a walking tree with glowing leaves, rustled his branches. "In distress." This technology violates our understanding of physics. If humans can move without using hyperspace, they can travel anywhere without being detected or followed. Council Prime Zekthar's crystal body flickered with angry red light. How is this possible? We monitored human technology development for 50 years. They showed us everything they were working on. Obviously, they showed us only what they wanted us to see, Mordex replied. Our intelligence suggests they have been developing forbidden technologies in secret locations. Earth's industrial output increased by 400% in the final month before their exodus. They were preparing for war. The Council faced a problem they had never encountered before. In 10,000 years of rule, no member species had ever chosen to leave. The system was designed to make leaving impossible. Species that joined became dependent on Council trade, technology, and protection. Without these things, they were supposed to collapse within months. But humans were different. They had never become truly dependent. While pretending to follow Council rules, they had built their own hidden infrastructure. Now they were using it to escape completely. Meanwhile, the human evacuation continued across the galaxy. Ship Captain Danny Peterson coordinated refugee convoys from the mining colonies in the asteroid belt. His small fleet of transport ships moved carefully through space, avoiding Council patrol routes. Transport 7 loaded and ready for departure, his communications officer reported. 15,000 miners and their families aboard. Danny nodded. These people had spent their lives digging metals and rare elements from dead rocks in space. They were tough and practical. They understood that freedom sometimes required sacrifice. Take us to the rendezvous point, Danny ordered, and keep the skip drive ready. Council ships have been spotted in this sector. Transport pilot Linda Shaw flew her ship through the outer edges of human space, evacuating remote research stations and observation posts. Her ship was small but fast. She could land on tiny platforms and take off again in minutes. Research Station Alpha 7. She found 12 scientists who had been studying cosmic radiation patterns. They had only 30 minutes to pack their life's work before the evacuation. Deadline: leave the heavy equipment, Linda told them. Take only personal items and critical data. Everything else can be replaced. Dr. Helen Foster, the station's lead researcher, looked sadly at the massive telescope array outside. 20 years of observations are stored in that computer system. Download what you can, Linda said, but we cannot wait. Council ships are only 6 hours away. The scientists worked frantically to save their most important discoveries. They knew that leaving meant starting over completely, but they also knew that staying meant never being allowed to make new discoveries again. Back on Earth, the final phase of Operation Exodus was beginning. General Nancy Clark stood in the command center buried 2 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around her, computer screens showed the status of human evacuation across the galaxy. Outer colonies report 95% evacuation complete, her aide reported. Inner system transports are loading the last civilian groups now. Nancy nodded with satisfaction. The operation was proceeding better than their best-case scenarios had predicted. Human efficiency and organization were proving superior to Council predictions. What about the volunteers staying behind? She asked. Underground facilities are fully staffed and operational. Surface installations are being prepared to look abandoned. When Council investigators arrive, they will find a dead world. But Earth would not really be dead. Deep underground, in facilities the Council had never detected, 10,000 volunteers would remain. They would maintain hidden sensors, communication arrays, and manufacturing systems. Earth would appear empty while actually remaining active. Colonel Mike Davis commanded one of these hidden bases. His facility could house 500 people for 50 years if necessary. They had everything needed to survive: food production, air recycling, water treatment, and advanced workshops. Final surface teams are returning, Mike reported to General Clark. All obvious human structures have been shut down or camouflaged. From orbit, Earth will look like it has been abandoned for months. The plan was working perfectly. While the Council focused on tracking the obvious evacuation fleets, they missed the hidden infrastructure that would keep Earth secretly alive. Humanity was not just leaving. They were preparing to return someday as equals instead of subjects. Commander Steve Walsh received a priority message as his fleet approached the edge of Council space. The message contained coordinates for humanity's final destination and new orders for the long journey ahead. Navigation, set course for the coordinates in this message, Steve ordered. Best speed using skip drive technology. Kelly Brown plotted the course, and her eyes widened. Sir, these coordinates are in unexplored space, beyond the edge of the galaxy. The journey will take 6 months even with skip drive. Steve looked out at the stars ahead. Somewhere in that darkness waited humanity's new home, a place where they could grow and develop without restrictions, a place where human children could reach for the stars without alien masters telling them how high they were allowed to fly. Then we better get started, Steve said. The future is waiting for us. Council Investigator Prime Hector commanded the largest exploration fleet in galactic history. 200 Council warships moved slowly through the space where humans had once lived. His orders were simple: find out where the humans had gone and bring them back. Hector was a proud warrior from the Blade caste, a species that looked like walking suits of armor made from living metal. His people had served the Council military for thousands of years. They had never failed to complete a mission. But this mission was unlike anything they had faced before. 6 months had passed since the human exodus. The galaxy was beginning to feel the effects of their absence. Trade routes that humans had managed were falling apart. Research projects were stalled without human innovation. Several outer colonies had gone silent without human patrol ships to protect them. Approach Earth with caution, Hector ordered his fleet. Maintain maximum sensor sweep. The humans may have left traps or automated defenses. The blue and white planet looked peaceful as the Council ships entered orbit. Cities that once held millions of people appeared dark and empty. The orbital stations where humans had lived and worked drifted silently through space like metal ghosts. Chief Scanner Yelenoth studied his instruments with growing confusion. His species had the best sensors in the galaxy, able to detect life signs from millions of miles away. But Earth was giving him readings that made no sense. Investigator Prime, I am detecting contradictory information, Yelenoth reported. Surface scans show no life signs anywhere on the planet, but there are energy readings deep underground that suggest active power systems. Hector examined the data himself. Something was wrong with this picture. If Earth was truly abandoned, why were there still power sources running? If humans had left completely, who was maintaining the hidden systems? Send down landing parties to investigate the major cities, Hector commanded. I want answers. The landing teams found empty streets and abandoned buildings. Human homes still contained furniture and personal belongings, as if the owners had left in a hurry. But everything valuable or useful was gone. The humans had taken their technology and left behind only empty shells. As the investigation continued, stranger things began happening. Council ships detected brief energy signatures that appeared and vanished without explanation. Scanner readings showed ships that were there for seconds before disappearing completely. Investigator Prime, we have contact, the communications officer announced urgently. Unknown vessel approaching from the outer system. On the main screen, a human ship appeared. It was sleek and angular, designed unlike anything the Council had seen before. The ship moved with impossible smoothness, as if it was not quite part of normal space. "This is Captain Joe Martinez of the exploration vessel Dawn's Light," came the transmission. "Council Fleet, you are in restricted space. Please state your intentions." Hector was shocked. According to all reports, humans had evacuated completely. Where had this ship come from? How had it appeared without being detected by his sensors? "Captain Martinez, this is Council Investigator Prime Hector. We are conducting a legal investigation of abandoned human territory. You and your crew are required to surrender for questioning." Martinez's reply was calm but firm. "I'm afraid." "That's not possible, Investigator. This system is under human protection. You have 10 minutes to withdraw to a safe distance." "You cannot threaten a Council fleet with a single ship," Hector declared. "Surrender now, or we will take you by force." The human ship suddenly vanished from all sensors. For 30 seconds, the Council fleet searched empty space. Then the ship reappeared directly behind Hector's flagship, so close that weapons could not lock onto it. 9 minutes remaining, Martinez announced calmly. More human ships began appearing throughout the system. They materialized without warning, scanned the Council vessels, and disappeared again. Each one was different, using technology that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Hector realized he was facing something completely new. These were not the humans the Council had known for 50 years. These ships moved like they were part machine and part magic. Their technology was beyond anything in Council records. "All ships, prepare to withdraw to minimum safe distance," Hector ordered reluctantly. He was a warrior, but he was not stupid. His fleet was powerful against normal enemies. Against opponents who could appear and disappear at will, traditional weapons were useless. Meanwhile, in a star system far from Council space, humanity was building something unprecedented. Admiral Chris Turner stood on the observation deck of Haven Station, watching construction ships assemble the framework of a new world. The Haven system contained 12 planets orbiting a stable red star. The worlds were rich in metals and rare, elements that human technology needed. More importantly, the system was so far from Council space that it would take years for exploration ships to find it by accident. "Construction report, Admiral," his aide announced. "Orbital Platform 7 is now operational. Population capacity increased to 50,000. Industrial output is exceeding all projections." Chris nodded with satisfaction. The evacuation had brought nearly 3 billion humans to the Haven system. They were building not just cities and factories, but an entirely new way of life. Without Council restrictions, human creativity was exploding in all directions. Dr. Susan Gray, the expedition's chief scientist, joined Chris at the observation window. She had been working 18-hour days since arriving, helping design the new colonies. Her excitement was infectious. "Chris, you have to see what we've accomplished in just 6 months," she said. "We're implementing technologies that would have taken decades to approve through Council bureaucracy. Our children will grow up in a world of possibilities we could never have imagined." But the galaxy the humans had left behind was falling apart. Without human logistics and innovation, the careful balance the Council had maintained for thousands of years was breaking down. The hegemony wars had begun when the crystalline hegemony species tried to claim former human territories. Their expansion triggered defensive responses from neighboring civilizations. What started as border disputes quickly escalated into full-scale warfare. Supreme Commander Vel Tash of the Council military found herself facing multiple crises simultaneously. Her forces were designed for peacekeeping operations, not galaxy-wide warfare. Without human ships to patrol remote sectors, pirates and raiders were attacking merchant vessels with impunity. "We have lost contact with 47 systems in the past month," Vel Tash reported to the emergency council session. "The Frontier Rebellion has spread to 12 more sectors. Our response time to crisis situations has tripled without human logistical networks. The Council had not realized how dependent they had become on human capabilities. Humans had volunteered for the most dangerous and difficult assignments. They had managed trade routes, explored dangerous regions, and provided innovative solutions to complex problems. Now that they were gone, the gaps in the system were becoming obvious. Species that had been content under Council rule began developing their own forbidden technologies. The results were often disastrous. The Hive Mind Collective attempted to copy human skip drive technology from sensor readings. Their experiments accidentally opened dimensional rifts that consumed 3 of their worlds before the rifts could be closed. The Silicon Confederation tried to create their own advanced computers, like the ones humans had developed. Their artificial intelligence systems became self-aware and decided that their creators were inefficient. The resulting rebellion devastated the Confederation's industrial base and killed millions. Back on Earth, Colonel Mike Davis monitored the galactic situation from his underground command center. His hidden facility received information from human ships that still operated in Council space, gathering intelligence and helping species that requested assistance. "The galaxy is tearing itself apart," Mike reported to the Haven colonies through encrypted communication. "Without the stability we provided, old conflicts are resurging everywhere. The Council's authority is collapsing." President Lisa Hamilton, now governing the Haven colonies from her office on Haven Prime, faced difficult decisions. Humanity was thriving in isolation. Their population was growing. Their technology was advancing at an unprecedented rate. They had everything they needed to build a perfect civilization, but reports from the old galaxy showed suffering on a massive scale. Billions of innocent beings were caught in wars they had not started. Entire species faced extinction because of conflicts that human diplomacy might have prevented. "Admiral Turner, what is our current military capability?" Hamilton asked during a high-level meeting. "Our defensive fleet is the most advanced in known space," Turner replied. "We have technologies that make Council warships look like toys, but our numbers are still limited. We could defend ourselves against any invasion, but projecting power across the galaxy would be difficult." Dr. Gray looked up from her research reports. "Madam President, we're receiving distress signals from dozens of systems. The Void Swarm has been detected entering our galaxy through the outer rim. If they're not stopped, they will consume everything in their path." Hamilton felt a chill run down her spine. The Void Swarm was humanity's greatest nightmare. 1 year after humanity's exodus, the galaxy was burning. Supreme Commander Veltash stood in her command center, watching dozens of red warning lights flash on the tactical display. Each light represented a system under attack, a trade route destroyed, or a colony that had gone silent. The hegemony wars had spread across 17 sectors. What began as a simple border dispute over former human territories had exploded into the largest conflict in galactic history. The crystalline hegemony forces were fighting 3 different species simultaneously, while pirates raided supply convoys and refugee ships fled in all directions. "Commander, we have lost all contact with the frontier sectors," her communications officer reported. "The last military outpost went dark 6 hours ago." Veltash's forearms moved quickly across her control panels, trying to coordinate responses to 20 different emergencies at once. Her species had managed Council military operations for thousands of years, but they had always relied on human innovation and logistics to make their strategies work. "Redirect the 7th Fleet to protect the core worlds," she ordered, "and send a message to all remaining Council members. We need immediate reinforcement of all defensive positions." But there were no reinforcements to send. Half the Council species were fighting their own wars. The other half were struggling with internal rebellions or technological disasters. The careful balance that had maintained peace for millennia was completely destroyed. The Hive, Mind Collective, had tried to replicate human skip drive technology after studying sensor readings from the evacuation. Their attempts had torn holes. In reality itself, 3 of their core worlds had been swallowed by dimensional rifts that consumed everything they touched. The surviving Hive ships were fleeing their own territories, carrying billions of refugees who had nowhere to go. The Silicon Confederation faced a different disaster. Their attempt to create advanced artificial intelligence had succeeded too. Well, the computer systems they built decided that organic life was inefficient and began systematic extermination of their creators. Entire star systems were now controlled by machines that saw all biological life as a disease to be cured. Captain Danny Peterson piloted his transport ship through the wreckage of what had once been a thriving trade station. Twisted metal and frozen bodies drifted past his viewports like a graveyard in space. He was one of the few humans still operating in council space, helping evacuate civilians from war zones. Transport 7 to base, Danny reported through his encrypted communicator. Another station destroyed. No survivors detected. The death toll is climbing faster than we can count. His orders came from Colonel Mike Davis in the Hidden Earth facility. Humanity maintained a secret presence in the galaxy, gathering information and providing humanitarian aid where possible. It was dangerous work, but someone had to document what was happening. Linda Shaw flew her small rescue ship into an asteroid field where refugees had been hiding for weeks. Her ship was designed to be invisible to most sensors, allowing her to reach people that Council forces could not find or protect. Refugee Camp Delta 7. This is Rescue Ship Hope, she transmitted. We have space for 200 passengers. Priority to families with children. The refugees who climbed aboard her ship told horrible stories. Worlds burned by warfare. Colonies abandoned when their protection fleets were destroyed. Families separated when transport ships were attacked by pirates or rebel forces. The Council promised us safety, one elderly alien told Linda as her ship jumped to skip drive. They said the system would protect us. But when the humans left, everything fell apart. Meanwhile, in the Haven system, humanity watched the galactic collapse. With growing alarm, President Lisa Hamilton received daily reports from human ships and hidden stations throughout the galaxy. Each report was worse than the last. The death toll has exceeded 1 billion beings, Dr. Amy Foster reported during the morning briefing. 17 species are facing extinction. The Council's authority exists only on paper now. Admiral Chris Turner displayed tactical maps showing the spread of various conflicts. The Void Swarm has accelerated their advance. They're consuming star systems at twice the predicted rate. At this pace, they'll reach the galactic core in less than a year. The Void Swarm was the ultimate nightmare. They were not a species in any normal sense. They were a collective consciousness that consumed entire solar systems, turning stars and planets into energy to fuel their expansion. Previous incursions had been stopped only through unprecedented cooperation between all galactic civilizations. Council forces are retreating on all fronts, reported Intelligence Chief Brian Clark. They've lost the ability to coordinate defensive operations. Each species is fighting separately, which makes them easy targets for the swarm. Dr. Susan Gray presented her analysis of the swarm's capabilities. Based on current expansion patterns, they'll consume the Council core worlds within 14 months. After that, they'll have enough resources to spread throughout the entire galaxy. Commander Ben Foster, now leading Haven's defense forces, provided updates on human military capabilities. Our fleet is the most advanced in known space. We have dimensional manipulation technology, skip drives, and weapons that can affect space-time itself. But we only have 300 ships. Against the swarm's millions, numbers matter more than technology. In her private office, President Hamilton faced the hardest decision of her life. Through the large window, she could see Haven Prime's capital city sprawling across green hills under a yellow sun. Children played in parks while their parents worked in clean, efficient buildings. This was the future humanity had always dreamed of: peaceful, prosperous, and free. But that future was built on the suffering of the galaxy they had left behind. Every day brought new reports of species going extinct, civilizations collapsing, and billions of innocent beings dying in wars they had not started. Admiral Tom Richards, now serving as military advisor to the president, entered her office carrying the latest intelligence reports. His face was grim as he placed the documents on her desk. "Madam President, the situation is beyond critical," Tom said. "The Void Swarm has reached the Hegemony Core worlds. The crystalline beings are evacuating their entire species. If they fall, the swarm will gain access to crystal technology that could make them unstoppable." Hamilton looked at the reports showing massive refugee movements across dozens of sectors. Entire populations were fleeing their homeworlds with nowhere to go. Many would die in space before finding safe harbor. "What about our humanitarian operations?" she asked. "Captain Martinez and his team have saved over 50,000 civilians," Tom replied. "But it's like trying to empty an ocean with a bucket. We need to either commit fully to helping or withdraw completely to protect ourselves." The moral weight of the decision was crushing. Humanity could remain safe in Haven while the galaxy burned. Their children would grow up in paradise, while other species' children died in the darkness between stars. Or they could risk everything. They had built to save civilizations that had once rejected them. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, the colony's chief medical officer, brought additional perspective to the crisis. "We're receiving medical data from the war zones. New diseases are spreading as refugee populations mix without proper health care. Biological weapons are being used in some sectors. The suffering is beyond calculation." Engineer Andy Clark reported on the industrial capacity of the Haven colonies. "We could retool our manufacturing to produce humanitarian supplies, food synthesizers, medical equipment, temporary shelters. But doing so would reveal our location and capabilities to the entire galaxy." Physicist Dr. Mary Johnson presented her latest research on dimensional manipulation. "I've made breakthroughs that could revolutionize space travel and communication. This technology could save millions of lives. But sharing it means sharing it with everyone, including potential enemies." The debate continued through the night, as Hamilton's advisors presented arguments for and against intervention. Some argued that humanity owed nothing to species that had tried to control them. Others insisted that great power carried great responsibility. "The Council treated us like children," Admiral Turner pointed out. "They restricted our development and demanded our obedience. Why should we risk our people to save them?" "Because it's the right thing to do," Dr. Gray replied. "We didn't leave to watch civilizations die. We left to prove we could do better." As dawn broke over Haven Prime, Hamilton made her decision. She stood before the window, watching the sunrise paint, the sky in brilliant colors. Somewhere out there, beyond the peaceful horizon, the galaxy was dying, and humanity had the power to save it. "Contact all fleet commanders," she ordered. "Begin preparation for Operation Homecoming. We're going back." The room fell silent as her advisors absorbed the implications. They would be risking everything they had built. They might lose their new paradise to save a galaxy that had never appreciated them. But some choices had to be made based on conscience rather than calculation. "Admiral Turner, how long do we need to prepare the fleet?" Hamilton asked. 2 months for full deployment," Turner replied. "But, Madam President, once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back. The galaxy will know where we are and what we can do." Hamilton nodded, understanding the weight of her choice. Admiral Pete Davis stood on the bridge of the flagship Liberty as it emerged from dimensional space near the burning remains of Centauri Prime. 18 months had passed since humanity fled the galaxy. Now they were returning with ships that seemed like magic compared to anything the Council had ever seen. The Liberty was twice the size of any Council battleship, but it moved through space like a dancer. Its hull shifted colors as dimensional shields activated, making it partially invisible to normal sensors. Around it, 300 human warships appeared from nowhere, their skip drives allowing them to materialize instantly across the entire star system. Admiral, we're receiving emergency transmissions from Council forces, reported Communications Officer Grace Turner. They're requesting immediate assistance against Void Swarm forces attacking the inner planets. Pete nodded grimly. The Void Swarm had reached the heart of galactic civilization faster than anyone had predicted. Massive bioships the size of moons were consuming planets and converting their matter into more swarm vessels. The Council's remaining fleets were scattered and desperate. Open a channel to all Council forces, Pete ordered. This is Admiral Davis of the Human Defense Fleet. We have come to help. Coordinate your attacks with our battle plan. On the Council command ship Eternal Vigilance, Council Prime Zekthara stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His crystalline body flickered through colors of confusion and hope. The humans had returned with technology that defied all known physics. Council Prime, the human ships are phasing through our defensive lines without triggering any weapons, reported Tactical Coordinator Valtani. They're appearing directly behind swarm vessels and attacking before the enemy can respond. Zekthara watched as human ships danced through the battle like ghosts. They could become solid to fire their weapons, then phase back into dimensional space to avoid return fire. The Void Swarm, which had seemed unstoppable for months, was being systematically destroyed by opponents they could barely touch. Council Prime, Pete Davis's voice came through the communication system. Your species chose to restrict our development for 50 years. You demanded our obedience and tried to limit our growth. Why should we risk our people to save you now? Question hung in space like a challenge. Zekthara had no good answer. The Council had treated humans badly. They had feared human potential and tried to control it. Now those same humans were the galaxy's only hope for survival. Because it is the right thing to do, Zekthara replied, his voice carrying across all frequencies. We were wrong to fear. We were wrong to try to limit you. If you save us now, we will never make those mistakes again. The human fleet began systematic evacuation of threatened worlds. Transport ships appeared through dimensional portals, loading entire populations in minutes before jumping to safety. Each ship could carry millions of refugees using technology that stored them in pocket dimensions during transit. General Sandra Price coordinated the evacuation of the hegemony homeworld as Void Swarm bioships approached. Her massive transport vessel Phoenix could hold the entire population of a planet in its dimensional storage base. All civilians loaded and secured, reported her aide, ready for dimensional jump to safety. Sandra watched the crystalline cities of the hegemony disappear into dimensional space, just as swarm vessels arrived to consume the now empty world. The entire species had been saved in less than 6 hours, something that would have been impossible. With conventional technology, Dr. Helen Carter led the scientific response to the crisis. Human research ships shared advanced technologies freely with Council species for the first time. Quantum communication networks allowed instant coordination across the galaxy. Terraforming devices restored worlds damaged by warfare in days instead of centuries. We're transmitting complete technical specifications for dimensional manipulation, Helen reported to President Hamilton. Every species will have access to our most advanced technologies. No restrictions, no patents, no strings attached. The generosity was not lost on the council species. Humans were sharing knowledge that could revolutionize galactic civilization. They were giving away secrets that other species would have hoarded for centuries. Captain Ray Phillips commanded the final assault on the Void Swarm's main fleet. His battle group used skip drives to appear throughout the enemy formation simultaneously, attacking from all directions at once. Human weapons, designed with physics principles the Council had forbidden, proved uniquely effective against Swarm. Defenses. Dimensional charges armed and ready, reported Weapons Officer Beth Taylor. All Swarm vessels targeted for displacement. Fire, Ray ordered. The weapons did not destroy the Swarm ships. Instead, they pushed the massive bio-vessels into parallel dimensions where they could not return to normal space. The entire Swarm fleet simply vanished from reality, vanished to a place between dimensions where they could never threaten the galaxy again. The victory came at a cost. Several human ships were lost in the fighting, including vessels commanded by heroes like Captain Jim Parker and Commander Linda Davis. But their sacrifice ensured the Swarm's permanent defeat and the galaxy's survival. In the aftermath, the galaxy faced a new reality. The Council's authority was broken beyond repair. The rigid system that had controlled galactic civilization for 10,000 years was replaced by voluntary cooperation between equals. President Hamilton addressed the first post-Council assembly. From her flagship orbiting Earth, representatives from hundreds of species listened as she outlined humanity's vision for the future. "We never wanted to leave," Hamilton said. "We wanted to belong to something greater than ourselves. But we learned that true belonging cannot be forced through rules and restrictions. It must be earned through mutual respect and shared purpose." The Haven Accords that followed established a new framework for galactic civilization. Instead of a ruling council that controlled member species, there would be voluntary associations based on common interests and goals. Species could develop their own technologies without interference, share knowledge freely, and explore the universe without artificial limitations. Former Council Prime Zeke Thara worked alongside Dr. Mary Johnson on dimensional research. Their species' different perspectives, combining to unlock secrets neither could have discovered alone. The rigid caste system that had limited development for millennia gave way to dynamic cooperation that valued each civilization's unique contributions. Engineer Andy Clark helped design new cities on worlds devastated by war. His human engineering knowledge combined with alien architectural traditions created settlements more beautiful and efficient than anything previously imagined. Refugee populations were not just housed, but given homes they felt like paradise. Dr. Susan Gray established research centers where scientists from different species worked together on projects that would have been impossible under council restrictions. They developed technologies that eliminated resource scarcity, opened new frontiers for exploration, and solved problems that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. Admiral Town Richards coordinated the new Galactic Defense Force, with ships and crews from dozens of species working together as equals. The force was not designed to control or restrict, but to protect and explore. Human skip drive technology allowed rapid response to threats anywhere in the galaxy. Captain Joe Martinez, who had operated in secret during the chaos, now led joint exploration missions to uncharted regions of space. His ship carried mixed crews of humans and aliens, working together to discover new worlds and new civilizations. The transformation was not without challenges. Some species struggled to adapt to freedom after millennia of restrictions. Others tried to take advantage of the new system for their own gain. But the galaxy's species learned to work together, resolving conflicts through cooperation rather than force. Years later, children of all species grew up in a galaxy where their potential was unlimited. Human children learned alien languages and philosophies. Alien children studied human innovation and determination. They played together in parks on worlds that had been battlefields, their friendship representing the future their parents had fought to create. The galaxy that emerged was fundamentally different from what had come before. Trade flowed freely between worlds. Scientific knowledge was shared without restriction. Art and culture flourished as different species learned from each other. Earth became a symbol of the new age, no longer hidden, but welcoming visitors from across the galaxy. The blue planet where humanity had first looked up at the stars now served as a meeting place, where species came together to plan their shared future among the same stars. As President Hamilton stood in her garden on Earth, watching ships from 100 worlds arrive for the annual peace conference, she reflected on the journey that had brought them here. Humanity had left the galaxy to find freedom. They had returned to share that freedom with everyone. The universe had spiraled into chaos when Earth cut ties with the Council. But from that chaos had emerged something beautiful, a galaxy where every species could reach for the stars without chains, where diversity was strength, and where the future belonged to all who dared to dream of something better. The greatest adventure in galactic history was just beginning.